join me in welcoming into this year's class, Ed Reilly.
Oh, former 7 News photographer reporter Ed Reilly is among the class of 2022 for the Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame. Ed retired in 2021 after more than 40 years with us, and he will join other legends like former Buffalo Bills great Steve Tasker, even Lucille Ball in this amazing group of folks. So stepping in with us this morning is Ed Reilly. Ed, thank you so much. And of course, Katie Morris.
It's all about Ed. It's all about Ed.
Good morning.
So Ed, thank you so much for doing this with us, to be able to chat, because I think a lot of folks...
Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. This feels like home. You know, I haven't been here for a while. Like when I retired, the pandemic was still in full swing, and people were working from home. And so to come back here and see people inside Channel 7 studios and to be with all of you, I mean, feels very familiar to me. This is where I spent much of my life.
Yeah. So what does it feel like to be now? It said immortalized in our prompter. What does that feel like to be a member of such a great group?
Well, I feel honored and thankful. Honored that my name's going to be included into the Hall of Fame with people like Irv Weinstein, Rick Azar, Tom Joles, Keith Radford, and Mike Randall. But thankful, well, number one, that my wife and family put up with 40 years of weird shifts and long hours.
It's so true.
News is a tough business. But also thankful that I had an amazing team of people here at Channel 7 that supported me every day, and they made it possible for me to do my work. And I really thought of them as my friends, not just co-workers, because they meant so much to me. People like Katie.
Oh, stop it. Really, though, no one is more deserving than Ed.
Right.
He was one of the hardest members of our team. Every single day he would go out there, and he gave his all every single day.
Yes.
And that's the kind of person you want to learn from. I know I learned a lot from him.
Yes.
And I know he taught a lot of other people, too.
So Ed, think back over the 40 years. What would you say to the young journalists or people aspiring to get into television?
Well, first of all, you have to realize you got to work. This is a job that's going to require long hours, shifts overnight. So you got to be ready to put the time in. But you got to be determined to keep working, because people will try to discourage you. You go out on stories and they'll call you, you're fake news, and they'll put things on social media and just beat you down. You have to stay true to your journalistic ethics and just keep going for the truth, and don't get discouraged and don't give up. I mean, there were days where I just felt like stories weren't coming together, and I would just keep calling people and keep calling and realize that, if I just keep working it, eventually be able to get the story and the information for our viewers. And that's what we're working for, is to give the viewers information on their community.
I love that you say that. And one thing that I always tell people, I didn't actually work with you at Channel 7 in the field, but I did work with you in the field covering news. And the thing everyone always said about Ed is that you were just the nicest person to work with. And that goes a long way in a business that can be kind of cutthroat at times. So we appreciate you for that. And how did you maintain that in a business that can really kind of make you a little bit bitter?
Well, believe me, there's some people that will test your patience on days. But I always try to think of, a lot of people, first of all, are very uncomfortable to be on camera. So if you were doing a story about people, I always tried to think about how they would feel. So I would try to make them feel at ease. If I was doing a funeral story, I would think, well, if I were the family watching the story about someone I loved who died, what would I like to see on TV? So I was always trying to think about their sensitivities. Obviously, with crime stories and things like that, you couldn't. You just had to report the facts. But I looked at people as they were human beings, not facts and figures, and that was my focus.
It's beautiful. I mean, that is really the truth. So, Katie, we don't want to ignore you.
Oh, no.
Here. There's a really good reason you're here. Tell us, as the president of the Buffalo Broadcasters Association, you have really good information about being able to celebrate Ed and the other inductees.
So this is really our biggest event of the year, every year, and I just want to let everybody know, if the public would like to come and celebrate and watch Ed be inducted and a number of other honorees, you can't get tickets until Friday at noon. You can go right there on our website. You see it right there. There's a little drop down, and everyone's invited. It's at Samuel's Grand Manor this year, so we're able to have, it's really going to be one of the biggest events we've ever had. And just to name a few of our inductees: Jackie Albarella, Steve Tasker, Lucille Ball, like you mentioned, Sheila Brown, Tom Vetter, Tom Fontana, Susan Rose, Jean Chica. There are so many. Yeah, and you can see all of them on our website as well. I can't name everybody. I don't want to give all of it away.
Oh, yes, exactly.
It's big. It's very exciting for us.
And it really helps such a great organization.
Yes.
Being able to support your biggest event. I mean, turning out, and I love this. This is an opportunity to meet some of your heroes, some of the people who really influenced your lives, folks who maybe have told your stories and you just want to support them. That's a fantastic opportunity.
It's wonderful.
All right. Well, thanks again, Katie. Of course, thank you,
guys.
Ed.
Thank you so much for having me. This was
Congratulations,
fun.
Ed.
Yes, and you know, I did want to end by asking you: is there a story that you really has really like stuck with you over the years that you're grateful you were there to be able to cover it?
Yeah, I think, there was a lot of different stories. I mean, my most fun stories were with Mike Randall, watching Nick Walenda walk across the falls and reporting on that was amazing. But I think the most important story I did was with Keith Ranford in 1990. We went to cover the buildup for the first Gulf War, and airmen from the Niagara Falls Air Base had been there. In 1990, there were no cell phones and FaceTime like there are today. So family members here had not seen their loved ones for a couple months. So Keith and I became the eyes and ears for the local families. And the war started a few weeks after we were there, but boy, I thought that was really one of the most important stories, and I was glad to be there to do that, do my part.
Reporters and journalists, right? Front seat to history.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's amazing. Well, again, I have to say thank you. This has been a great conversation, and I'm sure you can hear much more from all of the inductees if you head over to the ceremony. Make sure you take a part in that.